My dad's side of the family is from Sweden, and Sweden is a Scandinavian country in Northern Europe. It also borders Norway and Finland, and it is the third largest country in the European Union by area. And at the bottom, its capital is Stockholm, and this is a picture of it. And Stockholm is its largest city and its most populous, and 22% of Sweden's population lives here. Okay, so now, as you can see here, this is a picture of my great grandfather. His name is Joseph Lindquist, and he grew up in Sweden. He was born and raised there, and he lived on a little farm in this town called Blakenshire. And he basically lived there on this farm until his early 20s, and he would just basically help his dad out with whatever he could. Now you could see he's a lot younger and in the previous picture, and he's on his Uncle John's farm, and he's in these special shoes, as you can see, and they are handcrafted, all made from wood, and these are separate shoes from the ones they wore, particularly because on the farm during that time, the dirt was very moist, and you didn't want to get your good shoes ruined, so they would just wear these so they wouldn't have to ruin their other shoes. So now, this is a picture of my great grandmother, and her name was Olga Bival, and she is with her daughter in this picture, and which is also my grandmother. And I learned from my grandmother that she was a professional cook, and she went to culinary school while in Sweden. And she was also born and raised in Sweden, and in this county called Varmland. And here's some pictures of it that I was able to find. And as you can see, it is in the country, and its landscape is just really incredible. So, my great grandparents traveled to America simply for adventure, and they just wanted to get away from Sweden. And they were pretty young when they left, but they were old enough to work in America, and they ended up staying there because they had pretty stable jobs and they also liked the atmosphere. My great grandfather, he changed his last name from Lindquist to Wilson to be more American. And since there really weren't many jobs, particularly like for farming where he lived, he opened a house painting business, and it was pretty successful. And my great grandmother, she still kept her same occupation. And they both ended up meeting in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, and they got married there and had a child, which was my grandmother. Okay, so this is my grandmother, and she was born in 1919 in Philadelphia. And as a child, she participated in a Swedish folk dancing group that her mom ran. And I was able to sit down with her and interview her on what it was like doing this in her childhood. Okay, so can you tell me about what it was like in the Swedish folk dancing and what you did?
Well, my mother organized a group of Swedish, children,
Okay,
and she taught the Swedish folk dances,
okay,
and we went over to the big fair, the World's Fair over in New York, and we danced there at the Swedish Pavilion for the Crown Prince when he came over to visit. Not that that makes any difference, but
okay. So you actually danced while.
we danced the folk dances, yes, for the Crown Prince of Sweden
Okay,
at the World's Fair.
wow. So now getting back to it, this is a picture of her graduating from school, and her mother is to the right, and her grandmother was to the left, and she eventually met her soon-to-be husband at this event in Philadelphia, and that's where they got married. So now this is a mug that my grandfather used, and he, as you can see, it really had a lot of detail in it, and it really paints this, big picture. And lastly, this was a dinner set that my great grandmother used, to set the table with. And these cups and the teapot are hand painted, and they are made in Sweden.